Hello, good morning. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
So how many members do we have today?
I don't think that we have that many, only a couple signed up.
Wow, so that's stressful.
Why is it stressful?
It's like a small group meeting.
And that's great. That's great. But later on, I'm thinking about inviting all of you on campus so that we could meet in person.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So how's it going?
So far, so good.
Good, great. I've got the PowerPoint ready and we're still waiting for a couple of people.
Feels like I go back to the campus and in a college.
Well, I'm excited about this book because it's an update of what we've been doing so far.
It looks like they're trying new ways to make a CLIL even more advanced.
So it's great. It's good to keep up to date as to the current trends in CLIL. Yeah. So we still have 2 more minutes, and I hope my friends from Brazil will join.
Wow.
We
have international.
I guess this is not a good time for people to join in Taiwan because you guys are all at school and perhaps teaching right now.
Yeah, I know EE has like maybe 7 or 6 classes today.
So yeah, but I just like to get this started and so that get this ball rolling. But I'm excited about the conference. So I think it'll be brief.
Okay.
But I will go over some of the the key issues that is covered in the chapter 1. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's see, we still have. Hey, Professor Lin Yongteng. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Oh, wow. Our Sesh robot on Discord has reminded us that it's starting right now. Right. Okay. So if I'm sharing, what is this? Do you see my slide?
The yellow one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clear and beautiful.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock now. So I'm going to get started on time. And thank you for joining us in this Beyond CLIL book club. And this is a brand new book by Do Coyle and Oliver Mayer. And I'm very excited that some of you have time and are willing to join us in reading this book together and discussing and reflecting on our current practices of CLIL in Taiwan. So the chapter 1 is on unraveling key questions. And So it started with a, definition of CLIL, and here we have CLIL is a dual focused educational approach in which an additional language is used for learning and teaching of both content and language. That is, in the teaching and learning process, there is a focus not only on content and not only on language. Each is interwoven, even if the emphasis is greater on one or the other at a given time. So it's interesting where I look at this definition. For us, the additional language is English, and that we all wanted to know that there should be a balance between content and language. But here in the second sentence, it says here, this is a focus not only on content and not only on language, but it is interwoven. And with the very, last sentence, emphasis, even if the emphasis is greater on one or the other at a given time. So that's one of the debates that we're having so far. Bonnie, I don't know if you ever thought about, oh, is this CLIL a CLIL class or a language class, or is this, if teachers who have observed in your classroom, perhaps saying, oh, I think this is more like a language class, or we should, go toward more like a subject focused class. And there's been a great discussion of whether or not yours is hard CLIL or soft CLIL, but here we have it. It should, at given time, there can be a greater focus on one or the other. So there could be a focus on subject more or on the language more at a given time. So that's one of the important concepts I picked up from chapter 1 here. Okay, so this is a bilingual science class that I observed yesterday from Zheng Da Shixiao. Okay, and this was on students were having an experiment on whether or not these aqueous solutions are acid or base in property. So they tested vinegar, lemon juice, rainwater, soap water, detergent, and alcohol and all that. But if you take a look at this worksheet here, Mr. Zheng, the teacher, has designed this. Participants can now see your application. Okay, that their definitions of each terms are, provided, and even though under language here, acidic, alkaline, vinegar, litmus paper, red or blue, if you take a look at the sentences that he wanted the students to fill out, this is not just language, but it's more like subject focus, like litmus paper is red in acid solution, or lemon juice is acidic. And so, but then for this portion, like the definition of terms, it draws on students' reading skills, and also it's more meaning focused on and it requires students to be able to read. So for Mr. Zheng's science class, we can see that students, and this is 5th grade, and in the beginning, he had students read out loud this question: which methods can be used to distinguish aqueous solutions? And I was really surprised that half of the class is able to read the word, or read aloud the word distinguish. It's a very difficult word. So here we have a language aware, I mean, Mr. Jung in his science class, he's focused a lot on the language element to it. And here he's distributing the materials for the experiment, but you can see that students are lining up here one by one. So he was not giving out the lab materials for each group. He didn't, he was asking each group member, so every single student, to come up to him and to ask for the material. So the students would say, I need a lemon juice, or I would like to get a tweezer or something like that. So and when we were observing this class, we were thinking, okay, I think we know that this is like a great practice for the students, because requesting for something, it's each individual students have chance to use the language in practice and involving the items that they need for the experiment. But it's really taking a lot of his time, giving each individual item out to every single student in class. And I would see this more as a language focused part of the science lesson, and it is the teacher, Mr. Jung, insisted on this. And the benefit of this part, although it took a longer to distribute the items, the benefit of this is when I observed the classroom, students were able to confidently answer Mr. Jung's questions in English. And so I could see that his students' oral language ability, there, and the confidence is there. And I think it has something to do with spending time to go, for each students to come up here and, to converse with him. Okay, so, but then, the balance between a science class and a language focused science class, we kept us thinking, okay, is this what we wanted to do in a science class? But back to the definition of CLIL, that content and language is interwoven, and even if the emphasis is greater on one or the other at a given time, it is quite okay. So next, but then there were, because this is beyond CLIL, and we should go beyond, discussing for one definition of CLIL. And Coyle was saying that it's more urgent that we get to know the fundamental principles of plurilingual learning. Okay, so she was saying that at the very beginning, Harrop in 2012 was saying that when it comes to CLIL, it's a evangelical. We had an evangelical tone, like preaching people. Okay, this is the benefit. There's great potential of CLIL, and kids could learn a language and a subject simultaneously, and the benefits of CLIL, and it's like convincing people like CLIL is the way. Also, that's the first stage, the early stages of CLIL, convincing people CLIL works. But then as CLIL evolves and a lot of people or different countries adopting CLIL, in the second stage, there is more rigorous investigation and critical reflection. And this is indeed very much needed, because we need to not just focus on, the integration of, balance between content and language, but we need to focus on what's important, which is the learner's learning part of CLIL. And so Garcia mentioned that we really need to guide learners to become global and responsible citizens, and as of now, there is a awareness that the rights for all learners to access quality education is very important. So at this stage, what we wanted to focus on is to have rigorous investigation of how CLIL is providing an utmost atmosphere for learning. So we're focusing on the learner. Are the learners actually learning the subjects and the language as claimed by the theoretical approach or the pedagogical approach of CLIL. So that was the focus. And Hornberger brought up the ecological heuristics. And this is actually an inclusive blueprint for integrated learning. Remember, at this stage, we are focusing more on learning. So, so Hornberger proposed an blueprint for integrated learning. And this is on, if you have the book, the book right here, it's on page 6, and allow me to read this part. An inclusive blueprint for integrated learning, which embraces an overarching goals of education, where there is a focus not only on content and not only on language, and which constantly explores ways of engaging and enabling or preparing all learners through high quality and relevant real world experiences. Yeah, so and the focus is on, engaging and enabling all learners through high quality and relevant real world experiences. And, we have more like educators from Taiwan right now in this Zoom meeting. And this is so very relevant because our 12-year national curriculum, we also focus on real world experiences, and that our lessons should be relevant to the learners' daily lives, right? So, and based on that, there are several key questions listed in the book. And this is something that the authors would be addressing in the following chapters. Okay, number 1 is, what do we understand by quality learning? So we're going to discuss about quality learning and what is meant by inclusive. We talk about, we also, I was thinking perhaps we in our classrooms, like for example, the science classroom, the science class that I just mentioned, the science teacher, because it's the lessons is delivered in English, we might think that only advanced English learners are capable of learning the science in that setting, and learners who are not as proficient in language in English might not have the same learning comprehension. And so what is meant by inclusive are, that's one of the key issues. Also, what is integrated learning? And so I think this book is all about, integrated learning and quality learning. And number 4, what might overarching goals of education be defined? Number 5, what might these differ across cultures and nations? And in our upcoming conference, we have presenters from 14 different countries, and we're able to, I'm very excited about learning about how CLIL or how bilingual education is, the aspects, what different models of bilingual education from different nations or cultures are currently undergoing. So number 6 is, what about plurilingual and pluricultural classrooms? And plurilingual, pluricultural classrooms and plurilingual aspects is one of the focus of this book. Okay, number 7, what about learner dispositions and abilities? Like I mentioned, we focus on the learners as well and their learning and their abilities. And number 8, what about teacher support for constantly reflecting on learning? Teachers are, it's very challenging for educators to be able to design lessons that are balancing both content and language. So what about the teacher support? Okay. Then there was, in the book, they talked about languages in schooling. And here, the Commission of European Communities in 1996 put it, Council of Europe brought into question the dominance of monolingual curricula, indicating educators responsible for enabling all learners to access national curricula using different languages for different purposes. And so, in the past, our curricula are all delivered in one language. For example, in Taiwan, we're delivering our curriculum in Chinese. And so in Europe, they were having questions about, why is there such a dominance in monolingual curricula? And that right now, because, the focus is for all learners to access national curricula using different languages for different purposes. And in the Philippines, I know that they're learning math and science in English and other subject areas in Filipino. In Taiwan, we're trying to right now in Taipei, 1/3 of the lessons are delivered bilingually. So kids are learning music, some are learning life skills, PE, and science in English, and other, social studies, math in Chinese, in Chinese. So there's a switch between, and providing and enabling learners to access national curricula using different languages. And I think, in terms of this, we're walking away from monolingual curricula and towards a more bilingual, multilingual curricula. And I think it's a good sign. It's a good direction. But, as we talked about, CLIL using an additional language, here we have, despite the fact that CLIL's original objectives was to spread multilingualism, there is little doubt that the European context, in the European context, English is the predominant language. And so Dalton Puffer has coined content and English integrated learning, instead of content and language integrated learning. So this is a different term because, I think this would apply to Taiwan as well. Perhaps we're doing content and English integrated learning because our additional language is English. Yeah. So monolingual education is no longer adequate. And Garcia in 2009 says that we believe that monolingual education is no longer adequate in the 21st century, and that every society needs some form of bilingual education. And that's why we're here focusing on bilingual education or plurilingual education. And in chapter 1, I'm not sure if you've read it, but they've gone through developmental stages toward integrated learning. So in the first stage, it's in the 1990s, and then COIL in 2007 talked about like content and language. And later on in 2010, COIL, Hood, and Marsh developed here the 4 Cs framework, which is widely adopted, not just in Taiwan, but in a lot of different nations. So 4 Cs framework is very popular in Taiwan right now. And then in 2016, Nicola and his colleagues proposed toward integrating content and language. And they were talking about content and language should not be separated. It should not be a dichotomy, it should be integrated, and we should go for a deeper integration between content and language. You can't really separate content and language. And, when it comes to evaluation, it's really hard, to differentiate whether or not you're testing students on content or whether or not you're testing students on language. It's inseparable. So Leong and Morton in 2016 proposed a conceptual framework for this integration. And Morton in 2018 focuses more on subject literacies. And subject literacy would be, I think, I also need to finish reading this book. Subject literacies, would be one of the focus, and we'll talk about pluriliteracies and with focus on subject literacies, I think. So I'm excited about the focus on literacies because I think it's what's needed in Taiwan. Without literacy, students are only dependent on their speaking and listening in the classrooms, and that's not going to work. So Leong and Morton, proposed a conceptual framework for integration, and as you can see, this is there's disciplinary orientation, which is subject orientation, and language pedagogy. Here we have higher disciplinary orientation to language with more visible language pedagogy is here, focus on subject literacies. If it's less visible language pedagogy, then the language as a tool for participation in content tasks and disciplinary meaning. When there is lower disciplinary orientation to language, it would be more visible language pedagogy. So the focus would be on explicit language knowledge, not necessarily related to content. This is mainly focused on the language. But if it's lower in disciplinary and less visible language pedagogy, it would be focused on choice, creativity, and contingencies. And so this would be a useful heuristics to guide the integration of discipline and language pedagogy, and will be discussed further in later chapters. Okay, so one of the things that I was quite surprised, but in a good way, was we've always talked about hard CLIL and soft CLIL, and that our focus would be on hard CLIL. But after a conversation with Do Coyle herself, when I introduced this slide to her, she was asking for my definition of hard CLIL and my definition of soft CLIL, and I explained to her what those definitions are. But in her book, and this is something that I've learned from this book and from Do Coyle herself, that labels such as hard CLIL and soft CLIL, whilst describing the extent of language and content orientation, might suggest a hierarchy of importance. We're suggesting when we're using hard CLIL and soft CLIL, there might be a hierarchy of importance for hard CLIL over soft CLIL, or soft CLIL over hard CLIL. But here in Taiwan, we're emphasizing more on the hard CLIL over soft CLIL. So the hierarchy of importance rather than descriptors of how integrated content learning and language learning can be developed in different contexts. And so, what I think what Coyle was saying is that there shouldn't be a hierarchy of importance over one over another. So hard CLIL, soft CLIL are just descriptors of how we integrate content and learning. So this is something that got me thinking, okay, am I too focused on hard CLIL and not on soft CLIL? And soft CLIL is as important as hard CLIL. And maybe this is something that we could discuss later. Okay, what do you think about that? So one of the key issues been brought up in the chapter 1 is that content and language dichotomy, two different terms, and these two different, and it's separate, and having this separate is problematic because what we really need is an integration of both. And in this book, Morton in 2018 says that we need to go beyond a balancing of content and language forms towards a much deeper integration. So we should stop talking about balancing in content and language, which is what we're currently doing, and we should move towards a much deeper integration. And we'd like to find out what deeper integration means, and so we need to keep on and reading the later chapters into finding out how what is proposed in terms of deeper integration, and I really like to find out. Okay, this is the video that was posted in Discord, and I'm not going to play it, but you could watch it in your own times, and on how we plan to integrate learning beyond the 4 C's. So I'm really excited that we now can, as a group, can talk about how we're going to integrate learning beyond the 4 C's, because right now all the teachers and educators in Taiwan are focusing on the 4 C's and developing lessons based on the 4 C's. And right here, the Beyond CLIL is we need to focus on how do we go, integrate learning beyond the 4 C's. And so perhaps we should take some time and watch the video and discuss further in our next meeting. And that's it for my brief presentation of chapter 1. And I'd like to stop my share. And thank you for joining me, Bonnie, Diana, Young, Patty, and Vita. Bonnie, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do have very strong it's very the science lesson you share impressed me, because I think usually in the past we try to monitor the students the use of the language, because while they are doing the group work, we try to give them the functional language and want them to use it, but it's very hard to monitor them. But if the teacher has a station and they need to go to the teacher, and that's a way to make sure that everyone has the chance. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. But it really took a long
yeah, but I mean, because right now because in New Taipei City, most of the scenarios like they have 2 teachers. So if it's that kind of situation, then the 2 teachers can co-teach. It's one station, and the other teacher can monitor the learning of the content part. Focus on the task, because most of the time I don't see very good collaboration between the co-teachers. We're still trying to teach the teachers, but it differs from teachers to teachers. Every teacher have different style. You cannot force everyone to use the same way to teach. So it's always hard work for our foreign teachers to adapt it to all the different style of co-teachers.
Yes, definitely. And I like your suggestions of having, because you have 2 teachers in one class, and really we're able to provide more student interaction. And I think the collaboration between teachers is really, I know it's been challenging, especially content or foreign teachers and local teachers, or content teacher and language teacher. But I think having them opportunities to work together, it's really a great first step towards an integrated learning. And yeah, I'd like to, as to like, the language focus, and the time spent on, having dialogues with the students. I think it's really, uh, you know, I think it's necessary, but a lot of times we don't have that much, class time. And so it's one of the, we're, we're also thinking about how best to use the class time when it's like only 40 minutes, and how much time could we spend on, the language portion to it.
Yeah,
But
so I don't remember. Maybe it's from one of your webliner. Uh, um, one professor or teacher mentioned about like the best way to start CLIL is to do like in a small just do small experiment on a small group of teachers, and you
Mhm.
can work with a content teacher and the language teacher. So I know like the MOE program,
Mhm.
they give you the money to um, have the chance to collaborate with two
Mhm.
teachers. So
Mhm.
two Taiwanese teachers, they can talk about how to teach the lesson. I still think like only one teacher to one teacher
Mhm.
uh, work on the same group of student is the best way. Yeah,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
if you use a foreign teacher and every class is it's like a one foreign teacher has to teach the same content, but in 10 different way. That's the hardest way to make progress. Yeah,
Mhm.
but if two teachers they constantly work together and they have good communication, they can work in harmony and like we try to give different job to different teachers. The two
Mhm.
teachers all work and they all take part in the learning of the student. That's the best way. So
Yeah.
far, that's the ideal way to do that.
Great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, really like that like it that you could bring up your, what, you've experienced so far, the best, way of doing this. And I think we need more examples and more experiences,
Yeah.
shared from, the
Otherwise,
practitioners like
it's
yourself.
from for the starters, those new teachers want to do the CLIL if they only teach by themselves and they have no support, they don't have teachers to talk with, and
Mhm.
they don't have money, they don't have time. It's so hard for them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very, very difficult.
yeah.
Yes. But I know you have a really good, bilingual education program or CLIL program at your elementary school. How many different subjects are you running?
You mean right now in our school?
Yeah.
We have PE, we have art, and some science,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and just English. Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
we because the school-based curriculum right now,
Mm-hmm.
for the new curriculum guideline, we have to just combine other subject
Mm-hmm.
content, so
Mm-hmm.
integrated. So we can say like for other subjects, it's more like hard CLIL, but for the
Mm-hmm.
English lesson is the soft CLIL. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we teach the content, but focus more on the language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like to learn more about it. And I'm excited to be reading this book, with you. And I hope it's helpful of me, doing a PowerPoint slide going over
Of
chapter 1.
course, it's very helpful.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm thinking about whether or not to publish like, this video onto my YouTube channel. Do you think?
I
I,
think
I
it's
think.
very clear. So
Mm,
for other teachers, if they don't have time to come to the meeting, they can view it afterwards. It will be
mhm,
very helpful for them also.
mhm. Thank you so much, Bonnie. I look forward to meeting you in person, perhaps in our next meeting.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I think, yeah,
I always want to visit your library. I heard that you have many different collection of the textbook from
Textbooks.
all over the world, right?
Yeah, we spent a lot of money on that
Yeah.
because we really needed it.
And many of them are already out of print.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. Please do come. Yeah. Well, I guess that's it for our first meeting. It's a small group and we start small, but I hope our group could grow bigger. I think because we're focusing on the upcoming conference, so we don't really have the time to make this public to make this available to draw more participants. And also although we've given out books but they've just got it. And also we're having problem with setting time for our book club meeting. So I would work more after the conference on like setting a good time so that everybody could come and participate. And I think we could learn. I'm excited about reading this book. And I think because we shouldn't be just focusing on the 4Cs model and what's developed in the past, but I think to keep us up to date of what's happening right now. And I think it's important.
So I have one suggestion,
Yeah.
maybe not suggestion, just I noticed that yesterday I was trying to ask you, but I think maybe not, because I'm not sure how many teachers already registered in this meeting. But I think many teachers might struggle with Discord.
I know this might be
So
a
maybe
problem
they
because-
didn't know you asked a question there.
Oh,
Maybe
I
they
see.
didn't
Yeah.
log in. Yeah.
The event having to check the check mark so that you could enter, and
Because I've been asked like maybe E or some teachers, I say, oh, do you know there's a function called like introduce yourself or something? And I say, are you familiar with Discord? And they say no. And then I don't think they actually read your message.
I know.
But I was too busy yesterday, so I didn't ask you.
No problem. I'm trying out Discord with Taiwanese educators because Discord it's widely used nowadays.
Globally, I know. Yeah.
And it's
I
not
learned it
very
from our foreign teacher.
not popular in Taiwan, but I think it's a good, I think I just like to introduce this new.
They
I'm
need to keep just
testing it.
they need to like allow the notification so
Oh
they
yeah.
will know about that. Yeah.
Thank you for your
So use it
suggestion.
as a lie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So perhaps I'll after the conference we'll switch back to Line or Facebook that is more popular in Taiwan.
But it, yeah, just like you said, we need to give them a chance to get used to Discord also, because if they want to join more like a global meeting like this, they need to use Discord more. Yeah.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Thank you for
Okay.
joining me.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
see you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Patty and Vita. I'm gonna stop right now. And